I'm starting to think that people are almost forgetting there is an opposition involved in these games. Yes, it wasn't 5, 6, 7-0. It was just the 2 goals. But that's the first time in 4 matches at home against Olympiacos that Arsenal have won. Perspective, people. This is today's Arsenal Raw Reaction Show. Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk. Back again with you guys and girls from the episode of what is the Arsenal Raw Reaction Show, joining you after Arsenal's 2-0 victory in the Champions League phase against Olympiacos. Arsenal running out with the 2 goals on the evening. It could have been a lot more. It could have been plenty more. I don't think I can pull the wool over anyone's eyes to think that Arsenal couldn't have won that game at more of a canter. They were dominant in the game. Yes, they came under pressure, but in the end, they got the job done, and that is what matters most beyond anything else, of course. Good morning to you all joining us live in the chat box this morning. Very much appreciate you all being here. If you could drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you are indeed new, with those notifications turned on so you never miss a show. Good morning to Black Shine and Paul. We've got Martin and Shari and Mark. We've got Southport Gooner and Steve. We've got Claire. We've got Matt G. And we've got Knowledge. We've got Natty Tom and Sid and Olawale and Jean. Good morning to you, to Rich and Stephen Jamil, Manny and Brad. We've got Glenn and Nigel. Good morning. Thank you so much to all of you tuning in. And Mike has been a member now for three years. Three years. Why am I saying 3 years? 3 massive, long years, Mike, one of our most dedicated listeners and an absolutely brilliant chap as well. Thank you, Mike, for your kind support over these 3 last rotations round the sun. Thank you so much to everybody else, of course, supporting us and our other members too. And those that listen, of course, on Catch Up as well. The podcast is available on all your audio platforms as well. At least it should be after, not long after the live show on YouTube has finished. Right, let's jump into today's slides, shall we? Arsenal keep the perfect record going. Arsenal 2 from 2 in the Champions League, with 6 points from an opening 6. They are in a select group of teams in the Champions League that managed to do just that. In fact, there are only 6 teams that have 6 points from the first 2 games. Bayern Munich currently topping the table with a 6 goal difference, 8 goals scored, 2 goals conceded. Real Madrid sitting also with a goal difference of 6 as well. PSG managed to get a massive win last night against Barcelona away from home, despite the fact that the average age of their front 3 was 19. Quite impressive. No Dembele, no Kvaratskhelia. They were really very much at the bare bones of their front line, and yet managed to secure a big win away from home against Barcelona. Inter Milan also on 6 points, whereas Arsenal now in 5th on 6 points too. And Karabag, very impressive from Karabag. They are currently also on 6 points. Just give you a roundup of all the results, of course, from this match day 2. Kairat losing 5-0 at home to Real Madrid. Atalanta winning from behind against Club Brugge 2-1. Marseille winning 4-0 against Ajax. Inter Milan beating Slavia Prague 3-0. Chelsea down to 10 men beating Benfica. Jose Mourinho's Benfica 1-0. Galatasaray getting a big win over Liverpool. 1-0 winners there. Paphos losing 5-1 at home to Bayern. Spurs coming from behind to draw 2-2 with Bodo Glimt. Atletico Madrid, Arsenal's next Champions League opponent, of course, at the Emirates later on this month. 5-1 winners against Eintracht Frankfurt. Karabag 2-0 winners over Copenhagen. Newcastle last night winning 4-0 away from home against Union Saint-Gilloise. Manchester City were pegged back twice against Monaco. Went 1-0 up for Erling Haaland. Equaliser from Monaco. 2-1 up for Erling Haaland. 2-2. Eric Dyer's penalty with the equaliser. Bernardo Silva was crying in the post-match interview. That's not like him. Borussia Dortmund 4-1 winners against Athletic Club. Napoli 2-1 winners over Sporting. Villarreal drawing 2-2 with Juve. Arsenal 2-0 winners over Olympiacos. PSG, as I say, winning 2-1 against Barcelona. And Bayer Leverkusen drawing 1-1 at home against PSV. Yes, that PSG front 3, Barcola, Mayulu and Mbaye were the front three against Barcelona. Later in the game, Gonçalo Ramos came on, as did Lee Kang-in. But that is quite the achievement for Luis Enrique, who indeed saw his team come from behind and score a 90th minute winner through friend of the channel, Gonçalo Ramos, who got the winner in the 90th minute of the game. But that is the roundup of the Champions League action. And Arsenal, of course, as we say, getting their 2-0 victory. The lineup on the day was as follows: David Raya, Ben White, Saliba, Gabriel, Lewis Skelly, Zubimendi, Marino, Ødegaard, Trossard, Martinelli, and Gyökeres was the 11. Some surprises, not huge numbers of changes. I think, handful of changes from the game at the weekend. Ødegaard, as I mentioned, coming in to start. Really important to see him in the game, and we'll talk about him a little bit more later. Trossard starting, I think, his third game in a row for Arsenal on that left-hand side. Started against City, started against, he didn't start against Port Vale, but starting his third game in 4. Started against City, started at the weekend against Newcastle, starting this game against Olympiacos as well. Martinelli on the right-hand side, giving Saka something of a rest. Declan Rice rested for Marino, and Zubimendi continuing in that 6. Zubimendi is just, what a player Zubimendi is. It's just, every game I watch Zubimendi, it's almost like I just want to watch Zubimendi play. He's just that good. Lewis Skelly had a good game, I thought, at left back. Gabriel and Saliba as well at the back too. It was only, I think, a couple mistakes, just one each from them during the game. Ben White had a decent game at right back, and David Raya, of course, who we'll talk about shortly, produced a great save. But Martinelli gave Arsenal the lead. Viktor Gyokeres unlucky not to open the scoring himself, set through on goal by Martin Ødegaard, which was a theme of the game. Plenty of very, very good runs from Gyökeres in the match. His shot ever so slightly saved by Gyökeres, who parried it onto the post. Martinelli waited and waited and waited. He really did wait to see if the ball was going to go in the back of the net for Viktor, but when it realised that it wasn't, a quick little tap in to give Arsenal the lead. And it was at that point I thought Arsenal were probably going to run away with this game, scoring so early. Similar to the Port Vale match, I thought Arsenal were going to kind of go away and win the game a bit of a canter, but that wasn't what happened. And actually, that game became a bit of a grind. Arsenal did create chances, plenty of chances, but also Olympiacos were threatening. And it was the former Wolves forward, Daniel Pedence, that forced David Raya into potentially the save of the season for Arsenal this year. I think it's probably his best save of the campaign so far. Really fantastic reaction stop from the Spanish keeper. A save, for me, as good as a goal in terms of goalkeeper speak. Really, really strong save from David Raya to keep the score in Arsenal's favour. And Arsenal created chance after chance. Gyökeres got in a couple of times. Ødegaard had a massive opportunity, of course, in the second half too. Trossard had a couple of chances, didn't take them. And it was getting a little nervy at the end because there was that offside goal that was scored towards the end, but it was a very clear offside decision. But thankfully, Bukayo Saka scoring at the end, sealing the victory, striking the ball between the keeper's legs. Nothing he could do about it to get his next Champions League goal. He still sits on 99 goal contributions in around 200 Premier League games, but getting his Champions League goals and assist tally continuing to improve. So let's talk about some of the individual performance in the game. Viktor Gyökeres. I wrote a piece that's just gone out this morning. You can read it on the Football.London website in full, where I go into a bit more detail about Gyökeres' performance. I gave him a 7 out of 10 in terms of my player ratings. I thought his runs were really good. I thought his movement was great, and I thought he got into some really good positions. I thought his strength against opposition players was also really, really good. But his finishing in this game, and it kind of follows on from the Newcastle game, he was wasteful. I don't think there's really much debate to be had about that phrase. And I did say in the player ratings that he was a little bit wasteful. And people seem to take issue with this idea that he was wasteful. But he was. He had opportunities and didn't take them and should have done better with the chances that did fall his way. That doesn't mean that he didn't play well. He definitely did. He had a good game. His runs are excellent. His hold-up play was really good. And he got into those positions, and that is a really positive sign. I think you can have a wasteful game and still show really good signs. And that was what the piece that I wrote this morning that is out on the Football.London website is all about. This idea that, yes, he was a little bit wasteful, but He's still learning. He's still adapting. And I think some of the comments that have come out at the start of his time with the club are just so premature. Some people are just writing this guy off so early on in his career at Arsenal. I think there's going to be a time where he does get that goal where it just clicks. And I think the game at the weekend against West Ham's a great opportunity for that. I think Arteta, of course, spoke after the game about that very thing, this idea that he's going to score. Hopefully he does score at the weekend against West Ham, and then that will be kind of the way it will flow. He says, what I sense is that he's doing better and better things every game. Today, he was denied a few times, one of the blocks, one of the times he hit the post. But I think overall his performance was exceptional. Again, his work rate was really good. And yes, we want him to be scoring goals. But if he doesn't do that, at least to do everything as he's doing for the team, because he's helping the team a lot. And I think, that I kind of touched upon it in the first goal. Think back to when Martinelli was kind of watching the ball trickle towards the goal and it hit the post. To me, that told me that Martinelli was desperate to see that ball go in the net just from Gyökeres' shot. And I think the fact that he kind of waited and waited and waited and waited was a sign that he was just hoping and praying the ball would go in for his striker, but he had to tap it in, of course, when it showed that it was just going to hit the post. We have to talk about Ødegaard because what a performance. What a performance from Martin Ødegaard. It was a stunning display from Arsenal's captain. Back in the team, back in the side. His passing was sublime in this match. He was all over. And I thought it was a really interesting post-match presser conference from Arteta regarding Ødegaard as well, because he was asked whether he's kind of given the freedom or the license to get forward. Now, for my money, I've always thought he's given Ødegaard the freedom, the license to roam, to be expressive. And he says, and Arteta said as much, he said he's got all the license in the world to go forward, Martin, and to play with that freedom and to play with that level of threat, especially not only with the passes, but the way he was taking the ball, carrying the ball, making the runs, arriving in really dangerous areas. I think he put 3 people through today to score a goal. He should have scored a goal as well himself, which he absolutely should have done. So great to have him back. He played some very good minutes in Newcastle to help us win the game. And I think today he was phenomenal. If Arsenal are going to win the league, Ødegaard is going to be and has to be at the centre of it. An Arsenal team without Ødegaard is a worse team. An Arsenal team with Ødegaard is a better team. Arsenal always play, for me, better with him in the side compared to when he's not in the side. He's become an underrated player almost, because I feel as though that the commentary around him has just reached such a point of, I don't know what even the right word is, hollow analysis, I guess, around Ødegaard. Arsenal are better off when he is in the team. And I can't wait to see some games where he and Eze are in the midfield together. That's what I would like to see. I would like to see Ødegaard and Eze in the midfield together. And I don't mean Eze playing off the left. I mean Eze playing left 8, Ødegaard playing right 8. I would love to see that. I think it's certainly something that can give Arsenal an extra attacking element. And maybe, who knows, maybe we'll see it on the weekend. Maybe Declan Rice comes into the number 6 role for Zubimendi, who started this game. I think it's a really, really good option for us. And I hope that we do indeed see it. As I hope that you see the light when it comes to using a VPN service. Because there is indeed only one VPN service that you should be considering. And that is, of course, NordVPN. And you can go to nordvpn.com/Gooner to get yourself a significant discount off a 1 or indeed a 2-year plan. If you go with that 2-year deal, you can get 4 months extra thrown in free on top of that too. A massive thank you, as always, to Nord for helping support the channel, for supporting me, supporting you, giving us, of course, the resources to make this channel what it is today and making it so good for all of us to enjoy the dulcet tones of, well, me reading out your comments and questions mainly. But when I'm abroad, when I'm away in perhaps a hotel because I'm following the games away from home, having a VPN is an absolute must. And there is only one choice, and that is NordVPN. So make sure you go and check it out. Right, let's go to part 2, your questions and more, right after this. Right, this is part 2 of today's show where we're going to be jumping into the chat box, tackling some of your questions, some of your thoughts on the game, and some of your feelings about what's going on at the moment. So if you've got a question that you'd like to throw into the chat box, now is the time to do it. Let's go, shall we? Let's go to Dan, who says, Dan and Dylan, I think it's Dylan, says, Tom, for you and everyone, how much more refreshing is it to witness TNT's Ali McCoist gushing, great word, over our play rather than criticizing it like Sky do? Well, I don't have the benefit of the commentary, of course, in the press box. You have the benefit if you're at home and in the UK, and you've got TNT Sports, of course, as well. And that's the commentary that you are listening to. You're the ones who are going to be able to better answer Dylan's question than me. I do value Ali McCoist a lot. Not only is he a great commentator, but he is a lovely guy. Every interaction I've had with Ali, and they're only kind of in passing around the press room and things like that, he is always a lovely guy. He stops to talk to people. Everybody loves him. He's just a very enjoyable character to speak with. And yes, he's a great commentator, one of the best, certainly. And he'll go down. I mean, the Ali McCoist, Clive Tilsley combination for me, I struggle to think of better combinations of commentary than Clive and Ali. Clive Tilsley and Ali McCoist, for me, is the best combination of commentators. And the more those two work together, for me, the better. And a lot of you seem to be agreeing. James Ali is a great commentator, so balanced. So Nicholas says TNT was a breath of fresh air. Benny says Ali McCoist was so refreshing. And I think you're all right. I think you are all absolutely right. Knowledge says TNT commentary is so much better than Sky because there's no Gary Neville. It just seems personal now, doesn't it? AG says, Tom, do you think a left winger like Kenan Yildiz or Marcus Rashford, if he has a good loan spell, or do you think there are any good left wingers that we could next summer? You know, I think Kenan Yildiz is one to look out for. It's mad that we're already thinking about transfers, but Leandro Trossard's kind of time at Arsenal is not guaranteed. Yes, he signed a contract improvement, but it wasn't an extension. So there's all the possibility that both he or Martinelli could not be at the club beyond the next summer. So maybe a Kenan Yildiz is the way forwards. Matt G says, Tom, hypothetically, if Charles Watts was in the chat, is there anything that you would say to him? I said everything that I needed to say to Charles last night, I feel, when he had the guile to come and sit next to me in the press room. The guile after his disparaging tweet, unbelievable behavior. The front on that man. Absolutely incredible. Yaya says, Guy on the co-coms, he bust a few from Martin Ødegaard's passes, definitely. How eloquently put. Yaya, how eloquently put that was. Lloyd says, Saka looks good on the left. Enjoyed watching Ødegaard at Newcastle in that holding role when he can see the whole front of the pitch. He looked great. But yesterday, all my days, we move to West Ham. Bailey says, will Gyökeres score for Arsenal and get a hat-trick before Saka scores a hat-trick? I guess we'll have to wait and see. You'd back Gyökeres, you'd think, wouldn't you? But difficult. Aaron says, what football podcast do you like that aren't Arsenal affiliated? I don't really listen to too many kind of football podcasts, to be honest. I do listen to like The Vision and Arsblog and What's sometimes. But in terms of like other podcasts, I do listen to a lot of James O'Brien stuff, just politics-wise. I do listen to a lot of Paul Brunson. I do quite like Paul Brunson. He's the guy who hosts kind of. I haven't even watched the series, but I just like his vibe. He's the guy who does the Married at First Sight stuff. But I just kind of like his personality. Like, I just think he's a really nice bloke. So I do listen to a lot of his interviews because I think he's a really good interviewer. But just in kind of reality world, I don't want a little bit of reality TV, so I do kind of like his podcast stuff. Anything else? Do I listen to any other podcasts? I'm looking down my podcast list now. But I'm not seeing Off Menu. I do like Off Menu, but I haven't really caught up with the latest series. That's James Acaster and Ed Gamble. Do like the Off Menu podcast. The concept is great. And I do like the Making a Scene podcast actually as well with David Williams and Matt Lucas. I do quite like that. That's a really good podcast. and great company. Jamie Lang's great company. We used to do a podcast called what was it called? Private Parts, which was quite a good pod as well. I just kind of like. He's not everyone's cup of tea, but as I say, I was a Maiden Chelsea listener, so I did, or a watcher, so I don't mind his stuff. It's a little glimpse behind the curtain at my terrible podcasting choices, but I can see a lot of others of you like a lot of other. There's loads. There's so many out there these days that you're not sure. And who knows? Maybe there'll be another Arsenal podcast with a familiar face coming soon somewhere else. Maybe there will. Maybe there won't be. We'll have to wait and see. More information on that to come. Mickey says, Tom, what are your thoughts on Ben White? I'm worried about his place in the team over Timber. I love Timber, but Ben White is special too. I'm not worried about Benjamin, I should say. Timber is brilliant. Timber is an absolutely wonderful footballer. And Timber is, for me, probably the most underrated player in the Premier League. I'd happily be on record to say that I think he's the most underrated Premier League player. But Ben White is a really valuable asset to this team. He's a good defender. He's a good player going forwards. He's a good connector. He's good in transition. I really do like it. Dylan says, Tom, mate, Maiden Chelsea. I'm considering my subscription. Everyone knows I haven't watched it in a while, to be fair, but I did enjoy it back in the day. It used to be really good. It has gone downhill. But that was my guilty pleasure at uni, 100%. 100%. Darva says, did you notice Rice messing with Dowman on the touchline during the subs warming up? Incredible how smoothly he has integrated into the squad in such a young age. I didn't notice that, no. Was that shown on TV? I didn't notice it from being in the ground, no. The Jimmy Kimmel live talk show is good, says John. I mean, I've been watching a lot of the fallout from the recent. I know few people took issue with me talking about Jimmy Kimmel, but you know, I think I replied to every comment that I could have done about that topic to kind of give you my kind of views around that. As I say, I'm always happy to give people's views. I just think people go in a little bit kind of too brashly. I get people who are on this kind of political spectrum and everyone has very different views. I think you've got to approach it in an open-minded way and just kind of gauge why someone holds the views they have rather than just gunning for them. So if you close yourself off to different views, you're not growing yourself particularly as a person. So I always think it's important to ask questions in a respectful way about why someone holds the views they have rather than going, what have you bought? Like, you know what I mean. Sapple Goodness says Terry Flewers gushes over Arsenal. Terry does have a bit of an Arsenal lean at the moment, doesn't he? Terry, good old Terry. He's he's very he very much does kind of enjoy the Arsenal success, if you're inverted commas at the moment. But yes, he does very much gush over Arsenal at the moment. Absolutely. Thomas says there is drama in the journo space. There's no drama. There's just an understanding that Charles is just a mean man. A very mean man. John says, hey, Tom, Martinelli on the right. Do you think Arteta is using Martinelli in this way so he doesn't see him go next year? Well, I think that Martinelli is... I think he's very much being... for goodness sake. I think Martinelli is very much being a released version of himself. I think he's got a lot more freedom. I think he's got a lot more confidence. Those goals that he scored recently will give him that as well. Give that comment the time of day. IS's political viewpoints are very complex and unique to every individual, as the policy decisions on the state affects livelihoods of people in many other ways, negatively and positively. It's a very open-minded way of looking at it. Matt says Terry just knows how to play the algorithm game. He makes content about Arsenal because that gets the larger engagement. You can't say that Terry doesn't know how to play the algorithms. That's why he's got a very successful channel. Daniel says, I love Ben White, great player and seems to be a great guy, but we look so much better when Timber's on the field. It's hard to disagree with that. And it doesn't mean that we're not good when Ben White's in the game. But Timber does seem to make everything better. He really does. Joe says, Tom, what do you think to differentiate between Calafiori and Lewis Skelly's performances? I feel Calafiori plays with more freedom and fluidity, hence his better performance recently. I think Lewis Skelly's... I think the difference is that Calafiori's got 5 years on Miles. That's a lot of experience in the game that Miles doesn't yet have. I thought Miles was good last night. I think his strength was good. I think his control was good. His passing was good. I just think that there's all this expectation and noise and hope and ambition around Miles, and people forget how young he still is, and he's still getting games. He's starting for England, for goodness sake, at left back. He's probably England's #1 left back right now, and that's a credit to both him and to Calafiori. And we need to utilise the players. We absolutely need to utilise these players as much as we can. So I'm excited to see the future with both Calafiori and Lewis Skelly in the fold. Rich says, now that I think about it, Tom, you've always reminded me of Mark Francis. That is, Rich, that's just not fair. That's not very nice. That's not very nice at all. I don't think so. I don't speak like this. No, dearie me, Timber was glorious last night. No. Ian says, White looked inconsistent because he was just coming back from injuries. Would like to see what Hincapié could bring. Oh, I can't wait to see Hincapié get involved. Hincapié, for me, is the guy that adds just that little bit extra flair to the back line and the options that we've got. I'm gutted that he's got injured because I've been so excited to see what Hincapié can bring. I've got such an eagerness to see Hincapié play for Arsenal because I've been talking about him for a long time. He's a player that I've appreciated for such an extended period and have wanted Arsenal to look to sign, that I cannot wait to see what he brings because he's just different. He just offers something different to the left side of that defence. And he's so good defensively, but he's so good traditionally kind of as a left wing back even at times. So I can't wait to see Hincapié get involved in the team. And I think maybe if he was fit, we might have seen Miles a bit more in midfield, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. Iema says, Lewis Skelly plays too slow. He's very annoying at times. Sometimes I feel like he plays like he has already achieved things, but he is now second choice. Just want more urgency. I don't think that's fair. I think that a player of his age is always going to lean on the side of playing maybe a little bit safer because you've got to build up those basics at that age. You've got to lean into the basic, the easy passes, and just playing it in that sense. But I don't think he always does pick the safe option. I think he takes players on. I think he beats players for strength. I think he moves into dangerous areas of the pitch and has a really positive impact. So I think that's a bit harsh, to be fair. Thomas says, imagine when Madueke and Havertz are back. I mean, the fact that we've lost Madueke is gutting. Really gutting. I mean, that Madueke is a great addition to this team. But yeah, you're right. When we get those two back, that's even more options for Arteta. Maximus says, Ben White and Trossard had a below par game last night. Love our rotation in the bench and strength. Also, Olympiacos with a better team than Forest. I would tend to agree. I think Olympiacos were better than Forest. And they certainly offered us more of a challenge than both Forest and Leeds did. AJ, thank you for the donation. Says, all the Ødegaard haters, hold that emphatically. Indeed. Hold that all day long. Josiah says, what was great about Ødegaard was him actually spreading passes all over and not just the right-hand side. And I think maybe that's why Arteta got some questions about Ødegaard in that way, is that the passing seemed more purposeful and free, and it seemed more of a holistic kind of performance from Ødegaard in the sense that it was a lot more like he was open to pass to the left and to the right and through the middle and play the passes through to Gyökeres. And that's the type of influence I want to see Ødegaard have on a game. That's what I want to see more of. Just a bloke says, the cameras caught Arteta not best pleased with Ben White early in the game. Any idea what Arteta was trying to correct? I don't know. Maybe it was like tracking back or position. It's usually positional play. That's the thing that gets Arteta the most. It's either usually positional play or not tracking back quickly enough. Those are the two things that tend to rile him a little bit more, and you tend to see him getting caught out. His positional play is kind of the main thing you see him trying to correct on the field when he is having conversations with players. Stephen says, I think the competition is really healthy and helping all of our players to develop. You need to earn the spot in the team now. That is the conversation that seems the pundits are having the most, and there was the questions, of course, also to Mikel Arteta afterwards as well. Dharmesh Sheth from Sky Sports asked a question. He said, compared to previously, how much more reassurance do you feel when you turn around and look at your bench? I know a lot has been made of the strength of your squad, but in particular today, when I read the bench, it was really, really strong. And he said, yeah, with all respect, last season we were looking and we had 5 academy players there that never played professional football in a Champions League. So, yeah, it makes a difference. Today, we decided to change 6 players. I think it was because I want everybody to really be involved and feel part of it. And it was great. We had the feeling as well that physically we were dropping because we played a really intense match in Newcastle a few days ago. The ones that come in again, they lift the level and they help us to win the game. And that's great. I have a little concern about Max Dowman. My little concern about Max Dowman, and I know that he played for the under-21s the other week, but I have a little concern that he's not playing enough. And that's not to say that I think he should be like playing more minutes for the senior team. That's not what I'm saying. I've just got a concern that being in his position, in the sense that he is so good at his age that he can get in the team for the under-21s quite comfortably, but also for the senior side. And while Madueke is out, he needs to be in the team because we need that depth. We need that kind of inverted right-sided option because Madueke is out. My concern is, and I mean, Don says he's 15, but that's exactly my point. So you should always wait to see if I finish my point before you leave a comment. My issue is that at 15, he needs to play. At his age, with his talent, he needs to play. And so I think that it's a really difficult balance that the club have got to find, where absolutely he is good enough to be with the senior squad. But at that age, I think you need to be playing to continue your development, to continue your improvement, to learn more things. And the longer that you're kind of on the bench as a young player, the less minutes you are exposed to at an age where you need to be playing more regularly. So that's what I say. It's an interesting balance that I think the club has to find and Arteta has to find with Dowman, because I think that we need to see him dropped into the under-21s more. Like, he didn't play any minutes this week. He could have played for the under-19s in the youth league game against Olympiacos. He could have played in that game, and I think he would have got some valuable experience from playing in that game. So, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with Dowman. I think there is a question mark about, is he getting enough minutes at a very important age where you need to be playing regularly and get that development, build that fitness, build that physicality. That's just the concern I've got at the moment about Dowman. So it's not a him problem, it's an Arsenal problem. Like, that's what, for me, Dowman needs. And when I say he needs to play more, that's not necessarily just for the senior team. He needs to play for the youth team. He needs to be getting some more minutes. But they'll be aware of that. There's no doubt in my mind that they're aware of and conscious of that. So, at the end of the day, who am I to question how they manage him? But I just think that is something in the back of my mind that is there and is present around the kind of the scenario with him. Winery, I'm not concerned as much about Winery. Winery's getting plenty of game time. He started the game against Forest. He came on both times when Ødegaard got injured against Leeds and Forest. Played against Port Vale, as I say. He's already got 220 minutes this season. So I'm not concerned about Winery at all. I think he's got plenty of football already. So no, I'm not concerned about him. Nkapie, we hope to be back this month, so it shouldn't be a problem. And it shouldn't be serious with Nkapie, so that shouldn't be a issue. Crefio says, I'm American, so I'm not really familiar with the laws, but are there labour laws that prevent Dowman from playing more? No, there's not. I don't know about labour laws. No, that's not as far as I'm aware anyway. George says, since the start of the season, Ødegaard has missed 21 games and last season and lacked rhythm when he's been fit. Ben White, Bukayo Saka and Kai have been out, hence the decline of Ødegaard's performances. We will see now the best of him, I am sure. I'm agreeing with you. DJ says, how does Ramsdale get his career back on track? He's now exactly in the same position at Newcastle that he was at Arsenal. His agent is giving him bad advice? I don't think so. I don't think it's an agent issue at all. I just think that for Ramsdale, I think the Southampton move was not necessarily the best move he could have made. I don't know necessarily if he benefited from from that transfer as much as he would have benefited staying with Arsenal for that season as Arsenal's number 2 when we had Neto, leaving at the end of that season in that summer, maybe for a little less money, sure, but to a team that were not guaranteed to go straight down, that he could have established himself in as a new goalkeeper. I mean, look at this season, like at Brentford, for instance. Brentford could have, I think, signed a new goalkeeper. I think there are clubs out there that absolutely would have been looking at Ramsdale and could have perhaps established himself as a starter for a Premier League team. But you're right, he is in a very similar situation at Newcastle that he was now at Arsenal. Nick Pope is, he's not a fried young whatever anymore. Spry, that's the word I was looking for. He's 33, so Nick Pope is not getting any younger. So perhaps Ramsdale is going to be seen as the successor to Nick Pope in the future for Newcastle. Tina says, not now because we are complaining about a win now for Arteta. Let him wait for the mid-season when all is good with the team. 11 Mod says, the depth of our squad this year is amazing, but I raised the floor, the ceiling, and the depth. I think you're absolutely right. Our team. A lot of people are making some big comments about Arsenal. Like, I think Ali McCoy's described Arsenal's depth as a joke in a positive way. And it is. The strength of Arsenal's squad is unbelievably good. Our squad is in a really good place. And the transfer window was brilliant. I can't believe we sat here and some people still said the window was a 7 out of 10. I mean, what are you people smoking? Seriously. It was easily a 9 at an absolute minimum. I mean, there's arguments that it was a perfect window. I would have loved to see like Trossard leave and somebody else come in and upgrade that role, sure. But I still can't believe some people said the window was just a 7 out of 10. I mean, that's just everyone who said it was a 7 or lower just exposed themselves as being just the critical negative Nellies, to be honest. So yeah, it was an unbelievable window for Arsenal. Bazza says Ramsdale would have improved Man United. I agree with you. Absolutely. Pablo says, I wouldn't worry about Max. Ethan needs more games than Max. There's a 3-year gap between them, and Max will have plenty of time to play. I agree with you in that sense, but what I would say is that it's an important age that you need to be playing still. The younger you are, your body's still going through certain development. So playing helps you adapt and adjust. And when you reach 18 and you are adapted and you are adjusted, if certain things haven't happened by that point, you could argue that there could be some negative impacts and negative effects of that. Thomas says, we're leaving with something. I hope that you are right. Daniel says, when the hell did Nick Pope turn 33? Yeah, it's funny how time flies. It was, there's always like Will Hughes, like of Crystal Palace. Like I always look at Will Hughes as this young guy who was such a highly rated young wonder kid playing for Derby County. And now he's 30. And I just can't believe where the time has gone with some players, that they are just so old now. Like I'm 30 years of age, but it's in the context of football, time has just absolutely flown for some of these players. And the wonder kids of old are now the players going into their 30s. It is mad, and it does make me feel incredibly concerned about how quickly life is continuing, isn't it? Palace says the window was a 10 out of 10. It was better than Liverpool's, hence what makes it a perfect 10. I think we're going to round things up there. Thank you so much, as always, for tuning in. Really appreciate your time, as always. I think we've had a really, really solid look at yesterday's game. I'll be back with you tomorrow morning, of course, to round up any news that drops in the next 24 hours. Tomorrow is another press conference day. It just feels like it's non-stop at the moment. Arsenal just press conference, 2 press conferences a week, 2 games a week. It is non-stop. It is the world of Arsenal. It just never ends. But it's always a pleasure to talk about it with you. If you could drop a like on the video and subscribe if you are new around here, those notifications turned on as well, I'd greatly appreciate it. But I'll be back with you, as I say, tomorrow morning. Give, of course, the piece that I put out this morning on Football.London a read. Look into Viktor Gyökeres' performance, his kind of feel at the moment, the noise, the narrative around him, and why him missing chances last night against Newcastle is not necessarily a bad thing. So stay safe, stay well, stay happy, respectful, and as always, I'm the Arsenal